Pennywort soup with ground pork is one of those dishes that feels like an instant refresh, a natural cleanse for your body and mind. There's something inherently calming and restorative about it, almost like nature itself has crafted this soup to soothe and heal. This dish is clean and bright, with the earthy flavors of the pork perfectly balanced by the cool, grassy notes of Pennywort Ralma. It's a soup that does more than nourish your body. It lifts your spirit, rejuvenates your energy, and clears your mind. Begin by preparing the Pennywort. If you're using fresh Ralma, take a moment to appreciate its vibrant, green leaves and the fresh, herbal scent they release when you crush them slightly. Pennywort is rich in antioxidants, vitamin C, and other vital nutrients, and it has a slightly bitter, cooling flavor that works wonders in a soup. You'll need about a handful of fresh leaves for every serving of soup, though you can adjust your taste. If you can't find fresh Pennywort, you can use powdered Pennywort or even dried, but the fresh version brings an incomparable vibrancy. Wash the leaves thoroughly, making sure to remove any dirt or grit that might be hiding in the creases. Now, let's focus on the broth. This is where the magic of the soup happens. Start by heating some water in a pot, and as it begins to simmer, drop in a couple of slices of ginger to infuse the broth with warmth and depth. Ginger works wonders here, not only adding a subtle heat, but also helping with digestion, which makes this soup perfect after a long, heavy meal or a day of feeling a little off balance. You don't need a lot, just enough to release a light fragrance. Allow the ginger to simmer for a few minutes, then season the broth with a pinch of salt and a dash of light soy sauce or fish sauce, depending on what flavor profile you prefer. The broth should be clean, light, and slightly savory, enough to complement the fresh bitterness of the Pennywort without overwhelming it. While the broth is simmering, it's time to prepare the ground pork. Use lean pork, as it'll bring a lovely richness to the soup without making it too heavy. Season the pork with a little salt and pepper, and once the broth has had a few minutes to develop its flavors, add the pork to the pot in small crumbles. As the pork cooks, it will release its juices, creating a rich, savory base that blends beautifully with the freshness of the Pennywort. Stir occasionally, breaking the pork into bite-sized bits as it cooks. The soup should never feel greasy, but the pork will provide just enough fat to round out the flavors and create a satisfying depth. Once the pork is fully cooked and the broth is bubbling gently, add the washed Pennywort leaves. Drop them in slowly, letting them soften into the broth. Pennywort cooks quickly, and you don't want to overdo it. Just a minute or two until the leaves wilt into the soup but still retain their green color and fresh taste. As the Pennywort infuses the broth with its cooling, slightly bitter flavor, the soup will start to take on a bright, vibrant green hue, and the aromas will shift to something herbal, rejuvenating. At this point, taste the soup. This is where the magic lies. A balance of bitterness from the Pennywort, savory richness from the pork, and the warmth from the ginger. You can adjust the salt level, add a little more fish sauce for depth, or even squeeze in a touch of lime juice to brighten the soup and cut through the richness. Every adjustment brings the soup closer to perfection. Nothing should overpower the natural ingredients, but the flavors should play together in harmony. Once the soup is finished, ladle it into bowls, letting the tender pork and vibrant Pennywort leaves float atop the clear, fragrant broth. The combination of textures, the delicate softness of the pork, the slight chewiness of the Pennywort, and the clarity of the broth is one of those simple pleasures that feels incredibly satisfying. You don't need anything extra. This soup is all about the flavors that come together naturally. You can garnish with a few fresh herbs like cilantro or mint if you like, or a sprinkle of chili flakes if you want a touch of heat to complement the cooling Pennywort. What's so special about Pennywort soup is how it feels to eat it. It's cooling without being bland, light yet deeply satisfying. It's a soup that doesn't just fill you up, it clears out the heaviness and leaves you feeling revitalized, like a fresh start. It's detoxifying, yes, but it's also grounding in the way simple, natural food can be, connecting you to the earth with every bite. It's refreshing and energizing, perfect when you want to clear your head or simply refresh your body after a period of indulgence. And when you share it, the experience deepens. Pennywort soup has a quiet elegance, nothing showy, nothing complicated, but when you serve it to others, you're offering them something deeply thoughtful. It's a meal made with intention, something that doesn't need to be dressed up. It simply is, and that's what makes it so nourishing. As you sip and savor, you'll notice the subtle warmth of the ginger, the earthy richness of the pork, and the refreshing bite of the pennywort. It's the kind of soup that makes you slow down, savor each bite, and feel the nourishment working through your body. It's not just about the food, it's about how it makes you feel, grounded, refreshed, and full of energy. So take your time with it. Let the flavors settle, let the soup rejuvenate you, and let it remind you that sometimes simplicity is the key to feeling truly nourished.